5. Second matchup was 7-1 for Black Dragons over Red Devils. I too imagine that this will be a closer match, but how close is the real question? And INTZ is going to ban first. It's going to be Thatcher. Not uncommon for Oregon. You ban a Thatcher. Usually one of the teams will have to correspond by banning Mute, because if you don't take care of Thatcher, Mute becomes incredibly powerful. It also means that you might need to run a Maverick to try to take care of any Mute jammers through those hatches. Second attacker ban here, Michael, is going to be Ying, who was banned out on Oregon last match as well.
So by that logic that you just presented, and I completely agree with, we will need to see Mute banned here by paiN. Otherwise, they run the risk of a very easy main lobby defense for INTZ, as they can stack up on their strategy that they have now decided to commit to. And there it is, Mute gone. So paiN will abide. Now that by itself gives power to INTZ. The fact that they have forced paiN's hand by just banning Thatcher is significant. Of course, they forced paiN's hand because INTZ is defending first. So if they had an easy defense of the basement, they would be very powerful and set themselves up, I'm sure, for a good first half. So the third match out of 3 total matches played of Pro League yet this season, Valkyrie will be banned. This is completely new. We don't really see Valkyrie bans. Like, she's been banned, but in Season 8, she was banned, certainly, but not this consistently. And I think it really just screams where she is right now.
I believe she was 4th, if I remember correctly. She or Clash were 4th or 5th most banned operators, somewhere in between those two, with Echo, Maestro, and then Mira being the #1 ban, of course. We haven't seen a Mira ban so far today, which actually goes back to the Rio finals that we just had in Season 8. Mira was very rarely banned in comparison to Echo, in comparison to Maestro, etc. In fact, Echo was actually the most banned defender in that contest. So there are obviously changes that are going to be made here. Now, mind you, depending on when these tests, these changes on the test server go live, in regards to Valkyrie's throwing arm.
Still an if.
I would imagine, well, I mean, it's definitely an if. I would imagine that we will see Valkyrie's ban rate, which, like we said, was still top 5.
Yeah.
But it certainly wasn't 100%.
It was top 5, but we were, you know, if you look back, I'm pretty sure it was top 5 right after the pitfall, right? It was the top,
a significant drop off.
Right. So it's like you have your other operators that are up there pretty high, and then she's in the top 5, but she's, yeah, there are certain ops that just get banned a lot, and yeah, I think she was a flex ban.
Well, your best asset on defense is information.
Yeah,
being
and
able to, with these teams, you know, having the communication, and obviously who better for information than Valkyrie, especially when her range is increased so much that she can throw cams in places you'd never expect.
I want to say I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty confident that every single one of the top 5 defensive maybe 4 of the 5 defensive operators for last season were all information gathering operators. I think that's one of the trends that we were pointing out, and it's been pretty consistent, I think, since the ban phase was really released, is that getting rid of information operators for the defense is pretty big. But we have an actual match going on right now. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we're just about a minute in here, getting there, and paiN have managed to clear out the west side of the building, which gives them a good amount of control and will allow them to isolate those roamers in the meeting hall, keeping them nice and snug and unable to rotate into a flank. That's going to be Uke and Duds, the 2 victims of said cutoff. paiN now need to look for a way to actually start pressuring the bomb site, but luckily they've got plenty of time because they were oh so very efficient, again, clearing out that west side.
Pretty similar to what we see on most Oregon defenses, especially when you look at Laundry and Supply Room, is that you'll have at least 1 or 2 defenders playing inside a meeting hall. They've got a hatch or 2 opened up. In this case, INTZ has 2 of them. And you've got somebody with an ACOG playing on the stairs between T1 and T2, and that's going to be Drunks, who will get the very first kill, and it's going to be on the Gabrielos. So they're going to lose the Heart Breacher on behalf of paiN, and that is devastating.
Yeah.
There is no secondary hard breach available on paiN's side of things. Now, keep in mind that with the operator bans, it's a Thatcher and a Ying ban. So you can run Maverick and you can run Hibana if need be. paiN not opting to do so.
It is a bit odd that they've decided not to bring a second hard breacher, a thing or a trait that was distinctly Latin American for a very long time, and paiN just not jumping in on that, especially on Oregon. Oregon is one of those maps where you really want to have some kind of backup.
Especially if you're attacking downstairs. Maybe not so crucial on dorms.
I mean, yeah, yes.
Because you're going to want to likely try and take a hatch or two, but it really depends. I mean, also Oregon has kind of shifted here, but for another day. As INTZ going for a late rotate, and the Jaeger as well as the Legion are managing to just narrowly evade the attackers. In fact, Duds is playing all the way upstairs. Drunk's pushing up from the stairs into Meeting Hall. He will join the Legion of Uke, and a perfect opportunity for those toxic canisters to get tossed out from INTZ. They'll just smoke off the bottom of the stairs, and the C4 will catch GCR. Revolts with the R4C, finds Uke, who is playing far off site. And paiN finally has control of Meeting Hall, but there's only 3 seconds and they'll have to drop. This is going to be a heroic effort, but everybody from INTZ is just gonna hide. No real point in taking the fight there. The defense will just hold on, and paiN way too slow out the gate, unable to pull off the execute in the final 10 seconds, and that will burn them.
Yeah, remember when I said that we saw paiN be very efficient at clearing the west side? Well, that was true. I stand by that. But then following that, not so much. They seriously struggled to accomplish anything after that clear, and because of that, I mean, they ran out of time. There's not really much else to say. INTZ waiting patiently won the round because they waited patiently. Props to them for that. Now, they're going to get to go to the top floor following that successful hold of the bottom. And if they are successful here as well, they'll have to go to one of the off sites, which would be interesting. We haven't actually seen any of the off sites yet today. In the first match where we saw, or the second match total for the day, but this first match where we saw Oregon play, we saw only the 2 main sites, and that's because Red Devils couldn't win more than 1 round total, but more than 1 site defense. And so they kept going to the more standard sites, losing them, repeating and repeating. And then Black Dragons didn't need to win more than 2 to win it out. So it would be cool to see a 3rd bomb site played here. Something that's not bottom floor or top floor on Oregon, but it is uncommon still.
Actually a little surprised to not see a bandit get brought for the Dorn's defense upstairs, especially with a Thatcher off the board. You can lock down that closet/generator wall and make it very difficult for the attackers to be able to enter through that point if they can't get rid of those bandit wires. And I mean, yeah, you've got a Buck who could technically do that, just get underneath and buck away, but it's going to put GCR in a position where if somebody from INTZ is roaming and doesn't get pinched or pushed out, paiN once again could fall and find themselves victims of time here.
You're going to be going for a late rotation into the junk tower. Potentially very dangerous, but it doesn't look like paiN is going to be putting any emphasis on it. And actually, they're mostly going for an armory take right this minute. Definitely, I think the right call in this situation with the way that INTZ set themselves up. Still not going to be super easy, though. They do have to deal with Drunks in the Meeting Hall and the potential rotation from Boar, who could go from kitchen to Meeting Hall to support his teammate. Using that C4 could do a lot of damage to a master take, which is, again, what paiN are setting up for. Taking it very slow, though. They don't really have much control right this minute, and they're running out of minutes.
Uke unfortunately exposed himself for a second too long, gave his position away, which means that if you can commit somebody from paiN to be able to lock down that rotate, well, then is not much flank work that can be done from Uke. Spawns on his own drone, finding Drunks, who once again is positioned in a very similar place on the tower stairs, except this time instead of looking towards Meeting, Drunks is going to be using that ACOG all the way down through the attic over towards the master side of things. He did get spotted from spawns, so they know that there's a Maestro playing in there, which means that you can commit to the actual site and just make sure that you evade that line of sight that might come from the ACOG in towards attic. That could make it tough for the 3 armor of Drunks to be able to get back in towards the site.
Duds and Uke both at the bottom of White Stairs trying to contest the window. Not an easy angle to handle, but it's definitely doable. Intact is a huge part of this defense. Using his gas canisters to try and delay in the last 40 seconds. He can potentially chain them in the hallway to deny any push at that location, but he's got 2 different lanes he needs to hold. pushed it through the closet and the one in the hallway. He's actually going to use his third gas canister on the west window. So all over the place here with those gas canisters.
Gabrielos left to almost twist in the wind here as he's still just sitting by the opening into generator, waiting patiently. GCR eliminating Uke, and another will fall from INTZ as that's Gabrielos taking out INTZ. But Duds will refrag onto FK. A great C4 from Boar eliminates the planter of the Thermite, and Duds also gets GCR, but Spawns is downstairs trying to find a flank that doesn't exist, leaving Revolts all on his lonesome, and all INTZ needs to do is wait. That's exactly what they'll do. paiN will fall off of the plant, and for the second round in a row, the defenders will live on with a number of members still alive.
I don't really care how confident you are in the players that are pushing the site and how much you think you need to be fulfilling a different role that isn't covering the actual site push. In the last 10 seconds of the round, there is no reason for you to be underneath the bomb site. You really do need to support your last ditch effort to get a defuse. And we just didn't see that from paiN. We saw a Jackal on the middle floor, and he really needed to be in a support position. He just wasn't. There's nothing else to be said about that. I mean, Jackal also just as an operator is ideal for pushing the site. He's got those smokes, of course, and it would have been very nice to have him when going into generator. Hopefully he got the smokes down. They just weren't there when they needed to be.
The other thing too is that sometimes when you're on a deep flank watch and things go sideways with the rest of your team, it's hard for you to be able to determine when do I fall off to come help. Because then you can get bitten by a late flank.
I agree with that argument, but not in the last 15 seconds of the round. Like to me, that's the when. You know, you're asking when, that's it right there in my mind. When there's not enough time for anything else to happen other than for you to get a plant, that's the only way you're going to win. That's rotation necessary. And he tried, he did his best, but it was just a little too late.
Unfortunate timing and just taking a little bit too long. And I mean, you have the sledge going for the plant, he's exposed, you've got 3 bodies still upstairs, you don't have control of sight.
I mean,
that's basically all she wrote at that point. That's exactly what happened. Now, tower. Our first crack at a non-laundry supply, non-kids dorms main hall site.
And it is an odd bomb site, to be sure, but it is certainly one that can be defended. It just requires usually an unorthodox strategy to pull off. If you play it just sitting on the bomb site, you're gonna have problems. And clearly that's not what INTZ is going for, though. They are getting quite aggressive, and I like the aggression that they're showing us. The yokai drones there on the windows, the push inside of meeting. Meeting control, of course, is essential to holding the bottom bomb site. And that's something of a focus for INTZ.
This is a strategy that I think we've actually seen from other Latin America teams right now that's being brought out by INTZ, which is that you keep a body or two in meeting hall and you have the drop down so you can go for a very late rotate and then possibly go up the main stairs and then go up armory side of things. And the biggest problem that you're going to find from paiN's lineup here is they're going to need to take care of the people who are playing on T3 from INTZ. And right now, Uke is in a great, powerful position, just sitting above with those 2 yokai drones. And he's got the ACOG, and he can control that armory window, which is what he's looking at right now. He can also be able to look all the way down the stairs, and he's got Boar with him, not too far off. Duds was up top and will drop, anticipating a push. A great grenade from GCR all the way through. Attic will find Duds, who, if he'd been a second later, that Ella would still be with the living.
C4 from Drunks, though, able to at least give in some traction here. As Revolts takes down his teammate, though, it is looking like potentially the first win here for paiN. So they are in a decent position to get that defuse. FK will be forced back thanks to the yokai drone, but he's going in for a second bid on this plant. And he's faking it out, trying to get that Yokai drone to waste its energy. But from below, Revolt's in the perfect position to deal with Trunks, and he gets another one. An excellent round for Revolt, leaving just Yuke, who will finally shut down the rampaging Glaz. Only 11 seconds left, and he could actually potentially win this, but not on his drone. Very likely shot earlier, though we cannot know. From above, he will get another one onto GCR. He knows where the diffuser is down, but he cannot escape the bullets of FK1 as Yuke does not fully clear the meeting hall. paiN will get their first round.
Easy to hold a crossfire there, knowing how exposed the diffuser is with the soft wall being opened up. That's exactly what paiN does. You have the Zofia playing all away in the main door of meeting hall, and then you have the other body not too far off watching the diffuser from the backside of tower. So paiN Gaming will put their very first round on the board. How much of it was great strategy versus how much of it was just a bomb site being very difficult to defend. We know teams that excel at defending tower, but that's when you bring tower as your possible second site. You have something specifically crafted for it. Hard to gauge how much INTZ had there, because a lot of what INTZ was doing looked pretty standard. I didn't really see that much that deviates from what we see out of most tower holds.
I'm saying a bit of both to answer your question. I think paiN brought a pretty good take, all things considered. They found the hole that was meeting hall, which it certainly was poorly defended in my opinion from INTZ, and they decided that was where they wanted to make their push, and it worked out smooth as butter till they got to the site. But the problem was, for INTZ, of course, the only way they could deny the defuse was with the Yokai drone, and it just wasn't enough. There's nothing else to say. The Yokai drone is not a deep enough layer to deny the plant, especially considering that was paiN's most efficient take yet in this match. They've had 3 attacks, and that's the only one that looked like it wasn't going to end just because of the time. And in fact, I believe the other 2 did. So, yes, I would say strategy from paiN, good job to them, seeing the hole and opportunity, taking it. On the other hand, yeah, not a great sight as well, and there's really just, that is true.
Oh, Yuke, what are you doing? That is not good to lose your Legion in the first 20 seconds here.
The worst operator possible, I would say.
I mean, Smoke is probably worse, but I mean, in terms of...
I don't know, I mean...
generating all the goos, being able to lock multiple avenues down.
Okay, yeah, no, Smoke is worse.
I don't know, and FK is going to be grabbing a second kill onto Drunks. Puzzling what we're seeing from INTZ here. This patience that they were displaying in the first 2 rounds seemingly disappearing as we get longer into this actual game. And oh my, now Duds will lose the mirror window and inside of kids' dorms. But look at this. Look at where they're playing. The site is downstairs and you've got another body up top. In fact, you've got 2 bodies up top. Boar is the only member of INTZ that is not on the 2nd floor. Intact trying to outpeak a Glaz. Ill-advised strategy, especially when you got the SMG-11 in your hands against a scope that can see you through debris. Duds pinned down knowing there's multiple bodies coming at him, and with paiN Gaming still having all 5 upright, I'm going to be able to throw drones towards the Jaeger, who does look like he has an escape hatch, over towards the drop, but he's going to need to get there first. And you've got spawns waiting for him, you've got GCR waiting for him, and from below, FK is anticipating the drop. Duds is very, very dead, very, very fast.
He's somehow managed to stay alive, but I'm sure he will be dispatched early, or in just a few moments, hopefully, for the sake of paiN. Some missed shots there from GCR, but luckily Revolts is there to get the final kill. And what a round from paiN. Just a really simple clear. That was a basement defense, right? Like, I can see the site downstairs, but I also saw paiN die almost, I think, all off-site.
So basically...
Or sorry, INTZ, pardon me.
INTZ had Yuke playing by small tower, right?
Yeah.
You have Yuke playing by small tower. You had Drunks playing inside a meeting hall. You had Intact and Duds playing on the 2nd floor, and you had Boar playing downstairs all by himself, who then decided to run up the stairs and was playing very aggressively on the main lobby stairs trying to provoke a fight inside of the main lobby. I understand what INTZ was trying to do. I imagine that they were just trying to simply overwhelm paiN and stop them from being able to get inside of the building. It's happened many times. We see it on Bank in particular quite a bit, where you get very aggressive with your roam, and you're able to push people before they're able to get into the building. Gives you some good breathing room, and you establish an awful lot of control as you end up taking an attacker or two out, at worst to trade them off. Didn't happen at all. paiN just read into that like a book, and in particular FK1 was crushed everything in his path.
Yeah. I'm on the same boat. I get the strategy. I've seen it work before. I've seen teams, especially Latin American teams, pull off that exact strategy. But I don't know. It just feels like too much of an investment. Usually, I would say if you're going to go for a deep roam on the west side, max 3 players invested. And okay, they only had the 2 top west, but they had another in Jug Tower, and there's your 3. But then they also had somebody inside a meeting hall, and yeah, at that point it's 4. Now, your last player, this is the kicker, running up in lobby. I don't know, in 1 versus, I don't know. Confusing decision making from INTZ, that's for sure. Hopefully they think better here. Looks like they're already on the right path. They decided to go for not what they just did, and they are instead choosing to play in the site as well as in meeting hall, which is a very, very standard setup for this bomb site, and I think a well thought out one.
INTZ at least playing a little bit more conservatively this time, like you said. I think well thought out can apply to both here, but Carbine from Jaeger doing a lot of damage to the feet of FK1, who gets spotted around the drone hole inside a kitchen. A lot of people forget that that drone hole is there, and a lot of people forget that there might actually be somebody watching it. Well, uncommon that it gets watched, but if it does,
I think it's some people forgetting, but I think it's mostly just it's such an easy drone hole to get some free damage. I feel like you're right. You're absolutely right. People get shot through that a lot.
FK1, after taking all that damage, though, does get reset, so it'll be back up to 50%. And the push onto Meeting Hall will continue onward as you see paiN Gaming being successful with that exothermic charge onto the wall. And then they'll hop back on drones. So they subbed out 9XT and have basically put Gabrielos on a support right now. He's just been doing diffuser carrier and hard breach duties. Has made an impact in terms of the way that he's used his device and being able to get the correct information with the drones, but other than that, the fragging potential has not necessarily been there, and that's okay. So it's just an adjustment period. 1 minute left here as we are sitting at a 2v2, and everybody's still alive.
paiN stacking up on the laundry stairs, looking to go for what appears to be a pure and simple site rush, and they've got the smokes to cover this push, but there's gas canisters and evil eyes on the other side of the field, which are going to delay this quite a bit. Though paiN does have 2 sets of smoke, so potentially they could juggle it to waste the utility. The only problem is they've got very little time to do that, and they will be giving away 1 body. That's GB. As he goes down, it's going to be GCR forced to rush apparently through the smoke. He's got the Legion trap in his foot, so he cannot sprint, but he's in a good position. He gets C4 by Boar. That's the 2nd time the plant has not gone down in that corner. Intact also gets 1 and Duds another. It just leaves Spawns on less than 25 HP, who will be finished off by Uke, pushing out of the meeting lobby. Great job to INTZ there overall, playing all the way back, and paiN didn't really seem to have any tools to get that plant down, and when they went for it, they stopped themselves.
Imagine what happens if INTZ doesn't throw their bodies into the line of sight for paiN in that previous round that we saw.
Yeah.
The patience ended up wearing off, and I don't know if paiN was expecting INTZ to be very aggressive, because paiN treaded very lightly. They didn't really run in guns a-blazing like they did in the previous round. Maybe they were expecting a harder counter push from INTZ. I mean, speculation is one thing, but overall, paiN's biggest issue was adjusting to where INTZ was mid-round. Once you got the exothermic charge off to open up a part of Meeting Hall, paiN didn't know whether to attack the main site, downstairs in the laundry, or to put more of their resources into Meeting. And when they did decide to attack downstairs, Gabrielos walked in front of GCR on the glass, got his head shot off, trying to take the mirror that was playing down inside of the cubby. And really, for the rest of paiN, there was no recovery after that. A good C4, good toxic canisters, and INTZ ended up taking the round.
I think a reoccurring trend with this match thus far is that paiN is unable to actually execute under the site. If you look back at these rounds, we've got one successful attack onto the tower from paiN, which I'm just going to go ahead and say doesn't count. We've got one successful attack onto the bottom floor, but the difference, the thing is, that successful attack on the bottom floor was because, as we talked about, as you said, INTZ threw their bodies at paiN. They wanted to die, it almost seemed like, in that round. And yeah, if paiN, or sorry, rather, if INTZ had simply played downstairs, if they had played did exactly what they just did in the previous round, I think that INTZ would have gone back upstairs, they would have won that again, and we would be at a 4-1 right now. And instead of defending the top floor right now, INTZ would be on tower or kitchen again, and maybe that would bounce it back. But I strongly believe INTZ could have ended this half, and they still potentially could, but it's going to be a lot more difficult because they're going to have to defend. I am deploying a drone. They're going to have to defend an offsite. They could have ended this match, or this half rather. I don't know why I'm getting possibly getting away from it. They could have ended this half in a much better position, is what I was trying to get at. In a 4-2, that's what I was imagining. But now it's shaping up. At best for INTZ, I'm seeing a 4-3.
So much of paiN.
A 3-3.
So much of paiN relies on FK1 being able to crack open the defense. And if they don't have him doing that, I don't think there's enough space for the rest of this roster to come in. And I think that's the biggest issue. Revolt does not have the biggest fragging potential possible. And, well, it's going to fall all on his shoulders, along with spawns in GCR. As FK1, speak of the devil and the devil shall appear, while Yuke pops up and sends the devil back to Hades there. No more for FK1.
I have to correct myself. I said 4-3.
It's fine. It's okay, Michael. I jumped in to save you from having to continue on, but
I had to correct it though.
Boar and Spawns just seconds away from each other. Drunks is going to be able to tag in as Boar gets the intel and down goes Spawns. The sledge, his hammer inside a meeting hall. It will do no more. It's going to leave more just Revolts in GCR here. And the Glaz just using some caliber destruction to open up that attic soft wall where you can see one member of INTZ is lying prone. It's likely Duds who's just sitting and waiting. Gabrielos is in a position where we see the all too familiar planter need to go. That's inside of Generator, and the smokes from GCR will give him some cover as the Glaz now moves over to try and watch attic. There's no rotate whatsoever. There's been some destruction through the wall, but you don't have to fear a possible flank. But it's actually Drunks who's prone on the Yokai drone. Boar taking out Revolts as well, and well, there goes Gabrielos down from Yuke. Will pick up his second kill, and INTZ will walk away with that round. And the first half, 4-2, on once again another well-orchestrated round from INTZ.
So good job to them setting up that defense. We'll see how they handle their attacks. Again, I believe that they could have ended that half 5-1, was what the thought I was trying to get out earlier. But 4-2 is still a pretty comfortable scoreline for any team going into the second half. We're bringing an interesting toolkit going into this first attack, and it's going to be a Capitao. Now, this is the sort of thing that I was hoping to see from paiN that we did not see. The operators that INTZ are bringing right now scream direct counter to a main lobby laundry hold from the defense. They've got the Capitao, they've got the extra smoke from the Jackal, they've got the Zofia and the Ash for the, copious amounts of soft destruction, which are necessary, specifically because, of course, the Maestro is still in play. I mean, everything from INTZ's side makes sense to me. Of course, I think maybe you could have brought a Habana instead of a Thermite, but either way, and either one works. It really is up to you as a team, as an individual, whatever you're comfortable with. And I look forward to seeing the main lobby assault here from INTZ, because we haven't really seen a good one from anybody yet today in the 2 matches we've played on Oregon. It seems like attacking the main lobby has been a struggle for everyone thus far.
Yeah, we've seen a great deal of supply takes rather than laundry, which I think is very telling of the way that these teams are playing it. we've actually seen quite a little bit of it, where we've seen very little of Hibana as well, who is almost always instrumental because you need her to take out the possible mirror window, you can take out the hatches. But the way that teams have been playing in Meeting Hall, they've been controlling Meeting Hall with far greater reliability than usual. How many times do you see Hibana sprint in, use 2 rounds of the XK roast to grab both of the reinforced hatches inside a meeting? But
it's not free anymore.
It's not free anymore at all. You see that the defense, in this case, it's paiN Gaming, usually controlling Meeting Hall. And I mean, you look at paiN Gaming's lineup and it's pretty sensible, all things considered. You're likely going to have your Jaeger and your Bandit playing in Meeting Hall. You're going to have your Smoke, your Mira, and your Maestro downstairs. That is pretty commonplace. I
like the setup from both teams, but they're finally just now going to start butting heads. As you can see, that INTZ will force the roamers out of Meeting Hall over to Kitchen. The attack strategy from INTZ is actually a lot different than what I was expecting. So they're taking tower, setting themselves up for a back take, which is a little bit weird, considering their operator selection. To me, it screams main lobby take, but they do have the right tools for both.
They could be clearing meeting and then going for a front lobby take as well. That could be their possible strategy.
Maybe.
But I mean, that's very unorthodox. And
yeah.
Part of why I think there hasn't been so much of a presence on that main lobby too is a lot of teams on defense have been sticking an ACOG on the stairs. That's not what paiN Gaming is doing. In fact, they've got Gabrielos downstairs, so they're going to have him in a position where that ACOG can really get good usage prior to that push coming.
I think the setup right now for paiN and the adjustments that they've made to how the attack is coming out is perfect. They still have the roaming presence, which is going to force a flank watch throughout the round, and they have great setup in terms of denying the push from the back. They've got the mirror window still intact. There's no Twitch in play, so that's going to continue. Luckily for INTZ, though, they do have the Capitao, who can dislodge the mirror window, and he will do just that. Though the gas canisters are going to last longer, and they will be able to deny the initial push at the least. Luckily for INTZ, again, they've got tons of time.
And that's where INTZ is going to thrive now, as he uses one asphyxiating bolt to try and push out a defender, and Boar just running into the safety of the corner. INTZ is there for follow-up, takes out FK. The pre-fire will not connect, and he will instead head towards the hallway. A C4 misses its target, and with 9 people still alive, the plant goes down successfully, but those numbers dropping very quickly. INTZ, a volley as Spawns and Revolts will pick up 2 for paiN, and Boar and Yuke will grab some of their own. That means paiN's last man will be Spawns, and he is inside a meeting. He's going to need to drop at some point, as he is not on the correct level. He'll be drunk, so grab him before the Bandit can get back towards the site. And on their very first attack, INTZ will prevail, and they continue to march on towards match point.
Okay, so a couple things. First of all, I like the execution right off the bat from INTZ, but I think point a finger at paiN a little bit more there, because they had a lot of big holes in their defense. They had all of the right tools, they just weren't using them properly. The Maestro playing on the mirror window, for one. Maestro, I mean, you can put him on the mirror window, but he can do a lot more work with his Evil Eyes and with that ACOG from the back position in Laundry itself. That's the clutch position, and it's perfect location for a Maestro. Unfortunately, he was forced into a bad spot because of the firebolt and was finished off. And anyone could have been forced away and finished off by that firebolt. Again, I'm just making the argument that Maestro maybe not the perfect person to be put in that position. On top of that, after Maestro got taken out from the mirror window, where was everybody else from paiN? Where was the rest of the defense? It was just the Maestro, and as soon as he was gone, as soon as the mirror window failed, paiN seemingly had nothing else in a position to stop that push. Everybody else playing far too passively, and that's why we saw the Thermite abort just run in without a care in the world, straight across the site, crossing tons of potentially dangerous sightlines for the defense that weren't being used to get that defused. And you shouldn't be, I mean, I feel like it's obvious, but you shouldn't be letting that happen as a defensive team, especially not in a bomb site that is so very small, like the basement, when you have as many anchors as you do. So definitely some major holes in that defense for paiN, and something they're going to have to remedy here as they go into their second attempt at this bomb site.
Wondering where the focus from INTZ is going to come this time around. They're going to be in a position where all they're doing is subbing out the Capitao. They're going to keep all the other tools at their disposal here.
I don't know how I feel about subbing out the Capital. I feel like he was instrumental in the success of the last round.
Yeah, especially number one, he flushed out the player that was over by boxes. You basically allowed Boar to be able to get in scot-free at that point.
Yeah.
And then you had the Capital lock down both the rotates out of closet and possibly over from laundry towards the hallway. I agree with you. And I mean, there's got to be a reasoning behind it. It does allow INTZ to come equipped with a set of frag grenades, so there's probably some thinking behind that. But both teams have been running a Jaeger on defense every time around, so you'll have to make sure you burn through those, presumably with Duds' lifeline. But keep in mind, Zofia has now gone down to just 2 concussives instead of 3, so your ADS disposal unit, as the lifeline could be called a lot of times, isn't quite as proficient as it used to be.
In theory, the grenades are more effective than the firebolt, but that's the theory where Jaeger's ADSs, as you stated, have been taken care of or don't exist in the first place. And GCR, okay, there's nobody outside the main lobby, but if there were, GCR would have just died. And that's, you know, it's dangerous play. It is. And I'm happy for him that he got away with it, but I also have to critique it. It's a mistake.
I was going to comment on the fact that INTZ was able to open up the rear stage panel, and now looking likely that they're going to be able to get back even farther as Boar downstairs. He's playing inside a bunker, and he's going to try to burn the ADSs, which might be able to clear the way for Intact. You can see stun grenades being brought on both the Thermite as well as the Ash. He will miss on his throw. Intact will miss on his throw. The frag grenade, and then unable to follow up with the C8. It'll be Duds who actually takes out GCR, and Revolt, well, Revolt is still alive. That C4 from Spawns will connect with Boar, and now Intact is going to have to plant. But you can see paiN still has a ton of guns ready at their availability. Spawns eliminates Uke, picks up his second kill. Gabrielos peeks a little bit too much, and Drunks punishes him. Plant goes down successfully. That's the second time in a row for INTZ here. Spawns doing excellently now. That's his third. And, well, say goodbye to FK1. Drunks from above. Spawns another kill. He is on fire right now. And he's going for the defuse. There's the Mira, and oh, Spawns will put them all together. A triumphant clutch, and he lines them up, knocks them down, and paiN Gaming avoids match point, at least for the time being. An excellent play from the Bandit to grab every single one.
Great job there to Spawns. And certainly a round that would have gone INTZ's way if not for that one individual, the Spawns. Now, because of that success, of course, paiN will be going upstairs. Overall, that last round, I think it was INTZ's round. I think they had it. They just could not shut down the one player. And it happens, it does, but truly unfortunate for them. They are still, though, very much in the driver's seat for this match. 5-3 is a pretty substantial lead. Considering how they have been playing for the majority of the match, I would venture a guess that this is going to be hard for paiN to come back from despite that clutch. One thing I will say is when you see clutches like that, when you see one of your players on your team stand up and apart from the rest of you, it is an inspiring thing. It's the sort of thing that rallies morale and puts everyone to the task of being better than they were 5 minutes ago. I think that if there's any hope now for paiN, it's because of that clutch from Spawns. And if it weren't for it, we would be on match point 6-2. And that is a much more daunting scoreline.
Yes, and I call it the march towards match point. Well, for the time being, the march has been postponed.
That's a good way to put it.
They have lost a step in it, so they are still one round away from sitting on match point there. Because, of course, for those that aren't familiar, I feel like we should remind people every now and then, given that there is a new setup here, you need to get 7 rounds in order to win. So, sitting at 6 would be match point. 5 is still one off. It used to be old match points, not longer.
We'll be seeing the Finka played again. He was brought quite a lot in the previous match, where we saw Organ played as well. This time on the Spear instead of the LMG. GCR early kill there for paiN. Duds goes down to a peek outside, possibly from cafeteria. That's what I'm assuming where he peeked out, maybe from the doorway. But wherever the case, that's a really good start for paiN, and that's going to really build on the morale that Spawns built up in the last round, though, as I say that, Spawns goes down. So, so Intact gets it all right back in INTZ's corner, and they have just taken care of the most lethal player right now on paiN.
Interesting to see the spear get run by Intact. A lot of times Finka players will run with the LMG because it has 0 recoil and has really good damage output, and it's overall a pretty decent weapon when the adrenal surges are going live.
Also lots of bullets.
That is correct. Yeah. That is very correct. So losing Spawns early on, traded out from Duds. Duds had taken some damage at the very start of the round. He was finished off here, and you leave us with half of the round to go, with 8 people alive, 4 on either side of the coin.
Attackers drop the diffuser.
Good control for dorms for the time being, and as we've said before, the team that typically controls dorms in the final 20 seconds ends up holding on. The smoke inside of kids' dorms of FK1 getting tagged out. Can't put any pressure on them from below, but a great grenade from Intact will take out the smoke, forcing Gabrielos to have to get in towards the smoke's position. And on a wire, he'll take out Yuke. And will drop the Jackal, and that is the only set of smokes on INTZ's side of things that will be gone.
Intact looking for his third. Not able to find it just yet, but he will put some damage into the Maestro. Still able to play, though, and that's another one for the Maestro, so great job there. Boar able to get the refrag onto Revolts, though. So it's not over yet as we go to the even 2-2. Maestro, again, this is putting the right operator in the clutch position. That's something that paiN has decided to do here in this round. Playing inside of B is the optimal location for this operator. Dog's going to make the vault through the west window, but easily dispatched by GCR. That was a risky play no matter what's going on. And the white stairs, not a great position to clutch from. GCR gets yet another one. That's 3 for him. And paiN will take another round. That's 2 in a row, getting them very close to evening things out.
And 2 good individual performances, both GCR as well as Spawns showing up for paiN as is needed. This being, I think, as tight as we had possibly anticipated. But I think INTZ right now, frustrated over those 2 rounds. I think there's no question there, especially on the Spawns ace clutch. Very important moment for him and his team, being able to give you that energy. But this is going to be a real test of will, as you have to go to one of the less enviable sites. You're either have to go over to Kitchen, or you're possibly go over to Tower, and it's going to be rear stage and watchtower that gets locked in here. So the split level site for paiN. They'll unlock laundry supply room next, no matter what happens. It's good for them, in regards to the way that they've been playing that site, at least after the first round that INTZ took off of them.
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb.
So, last time we saw Tower, the attackers won it, but it was the other team that went here. So, paiN Gaming might have something up their sleeve on Tower that INTZ did not. They have decided to forego the Echo, which is interesting. I feel as though he is a very powerful operator, especially on Tower, as this is the sort of site that you need to play off-site. You don't really have a choice there. If you play everybody on site Tower, you are not going to be able to defend it in all likelihood. I'm sure it's possible, however improbable. But no Echo. They've decided to bring the Maestro instead, and could bring both, but this is plenty fine. You know, I'm just curious. This is actually, again, this is the second match today where we've seen neither Echo nor Maestro banned. Just a bit odd, and both times on Oregon.
Oh, Valk being in the position she's in right now, it doesn't really surprise me that she's a must ban.
But I mean, both of them?
Smoke was interesting, and then this time around, I mean, we saw a mute ban though, but that was prompted by the fact.
Yeah.
So I mean, that one was a given. We knew that was coming right off the bat.
Still, such an odd thing to think about. Even though, yeah, you're absolutely right. All of the different bans made sense. And it's looking to clear out T3 of Tower, it seems, though they're taking their time with this. Also, T2, they're putting a lot of people on Repel. Very dangerous to commit solely to the Repel. It could bear fruit, but they've got at least 3, I think 4 people repelling right now, which is, again, the word I would use is dangerous.
Especially for a run out. And you're always very vulnerable for a run out from kitchen here when you're trying to rappel up to the top of tower. Now, the position of these players from paiN will be given away due to the logic bomb, and, well, there you go. It's going to be a run out. And GCR gets 2, but he doesn't run out from kitchen. Oh, no, no. He's going to do it over from Armory window, and that is massive, taking out both the Capitao as well as the Dokkaebi. But you see INTZ, they came equipped with 6 sets of smoke. Spawns up top, finally gets punished, but not after INTZ losing 2 of their own. Advantage in favor of paiN, and all they've lost is a Bandit who was guarding T3 from above.
At least it's something for INTZ to work with. They are not done yet, but I don't think this, so far, this doesn't seem like how to defend tower. This seems like how not to attack tower. FK will take out Yuke as he attempts to go into T3 of tower. INTZ able to refrag onto Revolt, so that's very important. Keeping it as even as can be, though there's still a man advantage here for the defenders, and that will be lengthened. As Duds attempts to go into T3, he will make it in, which is huge, but guess what he does not have? The diffuser, which was left on the roof. Because of the TK, or sorry, not the TK, rather, the kill onto the Capitao. Peak from GCR. He will have to get back into the top of tower, which runs the risk of this angle being held, though it does not look like paiN is doing that right now. They have actually allowed for Duds to get the diffuser and work his way back into sight, and he will be planting right this minute with cover. He could potentially get off this and win the fight, but no, he will lose it. And FK1 secures the round. paiN bring it back 5-5. And we have yet to go to match point, despite being on the precipice of exactly that for so many rounds. 3 in a row.
Pretty incredible the way that paiN has been able to come back on this. And just running it up on defense. I mean, INTZ won 4 of their 2 on defense. Right now, paiN is winning 3 of the 4 that have happened at the time being. And I mean, 3 in a row, you're looking at the possibility that we could possibly go to a draw. Now, one of these teams will go on to match point at the conclusion of this round. In paiN's favor is that they have laundry and supply room opened again.
Yeah, and of course, I gotta be honest. If you win a tower defense, you should be winning the match. And not only did paiN win a tower defense, they also won the tower attack, which is not an amazing feat, but it just proves that they know what they're doing on that site specifically, which is a really significant edge to have. The reason INTZ has looked dominant so far is exactly what you said. It's defensive favored right now. We only have three attacking wins thus far in this match out of 10 rounds. That's substantial. So paiN right this minute are in a great position to possibly draw this match and still yet possibly win it. All they need to do is get 2 of the next few rounds, and it's theirs. Now, they will, as you said, get to go back to the basement since they went full circle, winning 3 sites in a row. They are now in their comfort zone. Now, this will likely put them on match point.
Nobody's really stood out to me this matchup, and they just flashed the scoreboard, and I think it's worth noting at the time that it does pop up. Nobody's really stood out as being a potential weak link here, and I mean, nobody's really stood out as taking over the game either. It's really just been good efforts on good rounds. That's really what it's come down to, and it shows a lot of depth on both of these teams. You know, you look at both of the lineups, irrespective of the operators that they're playing, they're able to make big contributions. And I mean, even somebody like Gabrielos, who had a rough start, has managed to right that ship to a certain extent and looked much better playing on the anchor position on defense. He's been running Maestro every round. So, I mean, there you have it. And, I mean, it's hard to be a bad Maestro at this current day and age with a lot of the way that these teams play, but doing so quite admirably, especially with the way that INTZ has played after the after that first round where they looked good on attack and then fell off after.
Poorly timed nade there from INTZ, but it would likely have missed the mark anyway. You could see Spawn's playing very dynamically in Tier 3. I say very, I mean about as dynamic as you can at T3 of Tower. He's moving around quite a lot. GCR also trying to support him from the attic to the best of his ability. and at least, if nothing else, keep that retreat lane open. INTZ
Reloading.
all over the place. Not going to be fighting tower this time around. It's clearly something that they struggle with. So instead they're going to clear from meeting hall, or just open up that main lobby, drop down, go for the site push. It's dangerous to do that though, without clearing out the meeting hall itself, because it leaves you exposed to those flanks late in the round.
Attackers are
Very
located
quiet here as we're going to see it drop through the hatch of spawns as he heads back to site. And once again, we're going to see this claustrophobic defense downstairs where everybody is positioned within arm's reach of one another. paiN having the 5 defenders, just a stone's throw from the farthest operator. It's going to be very uncomfortable. I think you said that for both the attackers and the defenders, as INTZ will have their work cut out for them. paiN reading into the fact that it's going to be a front lobby push will rotate accordingly, and well, all of that soft cover, it's right next to the mirror window, is going to be blown away. You've got the smoke as well as you've got the C4 coming out. It'll connect with a bore, and that will be great for paiN as it takes out the defuse plant that was going down on behalf of INTZ. Revolt's in now, and he's going to toss out a C4, and he's going to connect onto Drunks, but not before Drunks can get that diffuser down. INTZ has done a remarkably good job of getting the diffuser planted. Of their 5 rounds so far, 4 have gotten that diffuser down, and they've only won 1 of those. So they've got to hold on. And paiN has a numbers advantage in a 5v3, but it's a lot of patience here as they try to line up and make sure they've got enough bodies to throw out the problem. Duds will reduce that number by 1, but GCR will keep it back at an even 4v2. GCR yet another, and it's FK1 diving in, and paiN will manage to put yet another on the board. 4 in a row, and match point. This game is theirs to lose. INTZ just struggling to get anything going on these attacks.
That round was back and forth. The first step in the opposite direction was that, okay, paiN Gaming, on that defense, they should have had Revolt's C4 deny the defuse outright. It shouldn't have gone down in the first place, but Revolt's accidentally, I suppose, fat-fingered his C4 onto the wall, and his timing was just a second off because of that, and was unable to deny the plant. Following that, though, he did get the kill. And in that position, despite INTZ having the man disadvantage, he should have still, or they should have still been able to win the round. I mean, they were in perfect position. You've got the drop down open, you've got cover of the main lobby. Sure, you have to worry about the flank from the meeting hall, but what is the Zofia doing? Rotating off of that flank hold from inside of meeting. Perfect position on the mirror window, decides to instead rotate to hold the plant. Not a great decision make from the Zofia. Overall, I think INTZ could have played that a lot better. And paiN, excellent retake.
Much of this do you think is now mental in INTZ's hands here, with the fact that they looked great heading into the half. They won their defense as you'd expect them to do. They are the team that on paper should probably be favored here. I mean, the community said the same thing, even though it was a very close vote.
Yeah, I mean,
It's what, 49 to 39, if I recall?
exactly that, with 12 on the tie. But at the same time, you know, you're talking about people who have, you know, no one standing out. I would like to point a finger at GCR really quick. I feel as though he's had a couple rounds. Like, GCR hasn't been fragging every round. But when he frags, it's like he's getting 2 or 3 and always putting his team in a winning position. That's why he hasn't really been standing apart as much, but last round was a really big one for him. And I think he was the reason why they were able to retake that. Mental, to answer your question, I think paiN are in their stride right now, and they've got to be filled. Again, I think it started with the injection of adrenaline that was Spawns winning on that clutch. I think that was really the turn for paiN.
It's important to contextualize the victories that happened at the start of the round as well, or at the start of the season as well. You know, when you saw the relegations for last season, Drunks is going to burn the ADSs here, and there you go. He's managed to chew through all of them onto white stairs, and now we'll take out the Evil Eye. Oh,
what? Did it bounce off the Evil Eye and then hit the floor? Is that what I just saw?
It looks like it might have done it for both.
Did it? Is the Evil Eye still in play?
It's hard to tell. We don't have access to actually see that, but it did look like they bounced, and that is a huge problem for Trunks if that's the case.
Is that by design?
Well, I mean, that would be a different change. I mean,
I think it's still, yeah, it's still in play.
It's still up.
Wow.
Both breaching charges, missing the Evil Eye.
Somehow. We don't know if they necessarily bounced, but they definitely didn't destroy the Evil Eye. That we know for a fact.
It looked like they bounced. He shot at the wall.
It did look like that, yeah. Yuke gonna take a fight in the main lobby and do some damage to spawns, but luckily for the Bandit, he will get away with his life, thus furthering the goal of paiN as they grow ever closer to the potential win here. Spawns cannot get the angle on the North Rappel, just barely. It's not tall enough, and he might actually be able to get it just in a second, but oh, dancing with death, but oh no, Intact will win it. How does he predict it? Excellent shot to the buck.
There must have been a drone or something like that on him because he was not even looking in that direction. He was aiming at the window. And you mentioned his name. GCR taking out Drunks will put us back to 4v4. GCR's lost quite a bit of HP in that altercation. Revolt and Gabrielos is there, and well, Yuke, standing sentinel, he'll take out FK1, who's in the middle of the site and finally secures one of the Evil Eyes. Knows that there's somebody playing on top of white stairs, but there's a mirror window there to eat most of the bullets. Oh, a great shot from Duds, traded out by the Maestro Yuke in a 1v1, but Revolts keeps it in line, and that is a 7-5 victory for paiN Gaming. An impressive comeback, and the best so far that we've seen this season.
Oh, without a doubt. Only 3 matches in, but you could say it for sure. paiN Gaming with 5 rounds in a row, coming back from a 5-2 deficit. Very impressive and well earned, I have to say. Again, it all started with Spawn's clutch, but then after that, it's Revolts and GCR who really stood up in the second half, getting 11 and 10 kills respectively. Props to them both, props to Spawn. Across the board, excellent play from the entire paiN roster.
Overall, yeah, I gotta say, a great start for a team that really needs the win. Now, I was trying to say to contextualize prior to the mishap that we saw with the Evil Eye there, when you look at the relegation fight, a lot of times it comes down to 1 or 2 games. If you can rack up a couple wins in the start of the season, even if you go into free fall in the second half, there are other teams that will likely perform worse in the first half who you just need to outperform very slightly. I mean, Liquid had one of the worst halves of the second half, and they still finished 4th because they were able to run it up in the first half last season. So when you look at it now, paiN only narrowly avoided auto-relegation to Black Dragons last season. This is crucial that they win a couple matches to start the season off. And in this matchup against INTZ, yeah, it was pretty close. It was the team that finished 7th versus the team that finished 5th. But that's really important for them for morale, and more importantly, for the standings. That's a big deal because this could be the difference between auto-relegation when we look in a couple months' time when the season is done, where they finish 8th, 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, or even 1st.
Absolutely. Well, that's the 3rd match done. We have one more for you today. It's going to be Immortals versus Liquid after this short break.